Mm. I know you've taught me this. I'm like, my brain feels like mashed potatoes. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to try very hard not to bump.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Uh-oh. Now we have another problem. We have another problem. Oh my God. Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Now my main camera doesn't work.
That's how that. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me know. It's a good thing I wasn't in a cursing mood. Oh, thank you. Mark, once again, saves the day. You can tell that I'm going to hold on to him very firmly, let me tell you. Oh, anyway, it's been a week. It's been a week. And, but we're here and, oh, I'll give you an example. I'm getting ready to pack for my retreat. That's what one of my lists look like. So, but it looks like I've gotten everything ready that I needed to. So, woo! Mare is here. Yes, it wasn't you this time. I didn't do a show last week. So all of a sudden, now everything's going haywire. Hi, Cheryl. It's so good to see you today. Yes, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Mark and I've got some different plans for that. But Marcia and Hope, I love my Hopi, and Barbara Smith and Mare, and Debbie and Cheryl, Michelle the quilter. Yay! So glad to see you. So, today's going to be an unusual show. It's been an unusual week, but I do have some interesting things to share with you. Oh, that's great, Debbie. Yes, and you and Chloe enjoy the walk. I don't know about y'all, but we're due to have a mild week, and I'm going to take advantage of it. This week, I'm going to retreat. So, I'm leaving tomorrow morning, and Mark's going to be here taking care of the house. That's the nicest thing about him being retired, is the dogs don't have to be stressed out being here alone during the day. So he has been wonderful helping me get everything packed. I didn't really start packing until a little bit yesterday. So let me tell you about my week. Oh, yeah. And you can tell me about yours too, and I'll read it from there. So I'm sitting there Monday afternoon trying to get the doctor's quilt. Remember that I'm making a quilt for my amazing, amazing doctor, family doctor, internist, who's getting ready to retire. And this woman found my kidney cancer before it had spread. She got me help with my hyperparathyroids when I was feeling like I was done. I told her, if I've got to live like this, I don't want to. So she got me into a surgeon instead of playing footsie with an endocrinologist. And I mean, she just really has had an impact on my life. So I'm sitting there Monday because I'm going to see her 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I wanted to present this quilt, and I got it all pieced together. I mean, I was flying on this quilt. And I'm sitting there at my long arm. Now, let me give you a little background on my long arm. My long arm was made by the New Joy Company years ago. In fact, the woman I took it to said this could be 20, 25 years old. And so what they did, this was a company to help everyday home sewers get into the long arm quilting without spending $35,000, which at the time, that's what a long arm system cost. And that didn't even have the computerized. I mean, we're just talking moving it yourself and the whole thing. So what they did is they engineered a frame, because at that time, if you wanted to try to do something at home, they had the Grace Company wooden frames with the big ratchets you would try to turn it. And thank goodness for Grace. I mean, these people were trying their best to find what can we give people so they can take that next step. And so they made the first frame out at New Joy. Then they took Janome 1600s, which is just a straight sewing machine, a workhorse machine, and they stretched it to 16 inches. Well, at the time, we just had our regular little sewing machine. We didn't even really have much of an arm space. My Elna was my first machine that had 11 inches in the harp area, which is what they call the opening in a sewing machine, the harp. So they stretched the New Joy to 16 inches. They even put stitch regulator, meaning the faster you move the machine, the faster it starts sewing, so that your stitches stay consistent instead of long ones, short ones, long ones, short ones. So Oh gosh, I know probably at least 12 years ago, I bought this machine. The woman who owned it was very honest with me. She said, I can't get the tension right to save me. If you want to buy it for $1,800, you can have it if you can figure it out. And the best thing, too, is it came with the updated New Joy Magic frame, which if my machine can't be fixed, I'm going to keep that frame. I love it so much, and then I'll get it a used long arm to go on it. But I'm kind of hinting to you what happened. But anyway, I love this thing. To get a whole setup for that price, the woman took amazing care of it and was so generous. And it turned out, I even took it up to this big repair place up in Hickory and to have them fix it. And he said, tension's working great, all of that. Came home, started using it. At first, the tension was working great, but then started going wonky the longer I sewed. I don't know what it was, but something made me look at the tension disc, the round thing on the front of the sewing machine. And then I took it off. And then I realized it had all these parts. And with getting Mark's help, I realized that two of the metal discs that were meant to kind of fit together to hold tight, one of them was turned backwards. So they were smooth. So the longer you sewed, the tension would go every which way. So once all we had to do was turn that around, and it's worked beautifully ever since. So it can be a little picky about what threads it likes. So I've switched to Issacord and Glide. The good polyester, it loves those, and I can quilt like a fiend. Hi, Miss Joe. You're getting paid to accompany a patient to Boston for Thanksgiving. How wonderful, Mitty. Oh, take pictures of Boston, and maybe you can get to see the tiniest street in America. It's really, Boston's a lovely place. So anyway, so now you know the history of the machine and why I love it dearly. And so I'm sitting there and I'm sewing, I'm quilting, and all of a sudden, bam, I hear this metallic crunch. I mean, crunch, like, damn, just, it was done. It, the needle wouldn't move, nothing. It just stopped, and you could hear the engine wanting to try to make it move. So Mark came home. He was out. Mark came home, and then I said, honey, the machine is toast. And and he said, should you check your needle and check your thread? I said, no. I mean, this one just laid on its back and said, I'm done. So I called that same place in Hickory, North Carolina called Bill's Sewing. They are wonderful. They have machinists on record. They do industrial machines by the dozens, and they've been in business for quite a while. So they're a major, major repair hub. So I took it back in there. We talked to them. She said, well, and this is what I love. This is a small company in a small town, Hickory, North Carolina, that is well known over the world for making wonderful wooden furniture. But she said, I have a guy I'd really like to look at it. And, that melts your heart because this is my baby I've just had to bring in. And so I said, yeah, we'll wait. And I said, I don't know what to do about my doctor with this quilt. Maybe I'll take it in and show it to her. So far, she goes, take a picture of it and give her the picture. And I thought, oh, yeah, that is much better. So right now, I had gotten 2/3 of the quilt quilted, and it was looking so pretty. In fact, unfortunately, I sat here. Normally, I show you that stuff. I've already packed it in the car. I'm sorry. But anyway, I found a really, I'll show you next Sunday when I come back, okay? And because I won't miss a show, I'll be back here. I come back Friday evening. And but I really hit upon some quilting that I was really happy with. That was like, sometimes I sit and look at these and think, how do I quilt this? It came to me and it was going pretty good too. So I think that love I have from my doctor really helped guide my hands. So anyway, so what we had to do is Tuesday morning, I had to get up early, and Tuesday morning we drove an hour and a half to Hickory, North Carolina to drop off the machine. And above the shop, they have an amazing quilt shop. So if you're ever near Hickory, North Carolina, please go to Bill's Sewing and look at the fabric. They have expanded since the last time I was there. And no, I guess I've only owned the machine maybe about 8 years, 8 to 10, something like that, not 12. But anyway, I was so sad. I tried looking at the fabric because normally I always make sure if I walk in a quilt shop, I make sure to buy at least something because I'm so grateful to quilt shop. My heart was so sad. I didn't have the appetite to buy any fabric. But when I go back, I told Mark, I I reserve the right to then buy something. So anyway, so it was an hour and a half there. We were there probably 45 minutes, an hour and a half back home. Kind of messed that day up. So anyway, but this week I was getting the house clean. My daughter and her fiance came over Friday evening, and we went to our very favorite Chinese restaurant, Mr. Lou's. I'm giving you lots of shout outs today. We got Chinese dinner for everybody and had the best time visiting with them and looking at pictures. I don't know if I have any on my phone yet, but the venue, they've gotten their venue, and it is really, really pretty. So let me see. Hold on one second. I'm just going to quickly glance and see, because I don't know about y'all, but I love looking at, I love anything to do with weddings. Here is a picture of the doctor's quilt that I made. And I did square and a square and a square. I did my first migrating flying geese. So, and now 2/3 of it is quilted. And in fact, today I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my, no, I don't have a picture of the venue, I don't think. I'm sorry. But by next week, I'll try to have all that lined up. But we clean the house because I always like to leave a house clean when I go on retreat, because when you come home, if I just go to a hotel by myself and just, slug it out, but when I go to a retreat, I come home exhausted, exhausted. So if I leave the house clean, I come back and I don't feel overwhelmed. And I even one day, what day was it? Thursday, maybe, I worked for hours down here and started getting things cleaned and organized. I was so happy. So, I was hoping to get it all done before I pack, because it makes it hard to pack when everything is a mess. So, anyway, but yesterday my thought was get down here and get this room, finish cleaning and get everything packed. I was too tired. The week had worn me out. So I'll show you what I did instead. Because, we aren't always the responsible, industrious people that we want to be. But, sometimes you just have to just do what feels right. All right. So now I'm going to tell you another story. There is a show I watch called Irish Homestead, and it's about a family from England that she was a dental hygienist, and I think he had been in special forces and then was working as a carpenter, builder, and they decided to get away from the rat race. They were tired of it. And it's very hard to be able to afford a house in England. They have a little thing where some houses you can't own the land it sits on. You just lease the land and you pay for the house that sits on the land. It, some crazy little things over there in that ancient country. But anyway, they quit their jobs, they sold everything and bought a camper van or camper, nice driving camper, and went around Europe. Took their two children and did homeschooling, but went around Europe. That lasted for about 1 year, and then they went, you know what? We want to be settled. It was great fun, but we want to be settled. And they had heard that Ireland was having this program where if you buy one of their ruins and you do the work and you plan to live in it, they will give you a rebate of up to like 70,000 euros. So they said, let's go to Ireland and see if there is a little farm. They wanted to be back to nature. First, they wanted to live off the grid, but I'm very happy they've decided maybe that's not the best thing. So, because, I had dreams of that too. I had my 10.5 acres, and that gets old after a while. Let me tell you, pretty soon it's like, no, no, no. But I was going to raise all my food and raise meat animals. Are you kidding? Anyway, so, but they found a place, and I mean, it was a ruin, and it had never had electricity or plumbing, and it was a couple 100 years old, and it had a barn right up against the back of it, not fully attached, but very 2 feet from the edge of the back of the house. They bought the land, the house that was there, the barns, and during the last 2 years, they have been making it into a home. And boy, have they done the best job. And they rescued 2 donkeys who are so cute. I just love this family. They just are really, really neat. He's now become a firefighter in their town, and they're living their dream. Well, I've been watching that for over a year, and I can't wait. Every Saturday when the new show is up, I'm right there watching it. I've decided, because I think I have so much time on my hands. Hi, Miss Monkey Mary and Charlene Lawson, yay! So I decided now that they are living in the house and it's mostly done, 90% done, I've decided I want to make them a welcome home quilt. So yesterday, when I couldn't seem to get off the couch, I designed it. And actually, what I did is I used an inspiration piece from a woman, and an Australian woman. Now let me see. Oops, that's right. I can do this. Okay. I saw this amazing quilt because I thought, what kind of quilt do I want to make? And I said, you know what? It would be kind of cool if I could do an Irish themed quilt. And so immediately I thought, Irish chain. Now, this is coming up, hopefully. Let me enlarge it. And I saw this quilt, and I will have to find you the woman's website. I am very scatterbrained today because it's been a crazy week. But I saw this and fell in love with it. And the woman in the Irish homestead, she is decorating her house. All of her accent colors are types of green. And so I said, oh, this done and an off-white, because they are restoring a lot of it back to a feeling of a 200-year-old farmhouse with some modern amenities involved. And so I saw this online. I went looking for things, and I love this. Now, this is technically, I guess, you could call a double Irish chain, but there's a difference. Normal Irish chains are put on point. So the blocks here are on point, but these blocks, the background blocks, are not on point. So I had to figure out, how do I make that? And I've told y'all that yes, I do go to I do work with, let me find it. Okay, let me bring this. No, let me see if I can bring this over. Yes, I can bring this over. All right, let me close this out here. I'm sorry, let me try this again. Okay, so now I'll bring this up. So what I did is I'm trying to think, how do I do this? And so this is a square and a square, if you look right there. In fact, let me see if I can. I was going to try to make it bigger, but I don't think I can. But anyway, this is, if you think about it, these are all square in a square because they're on point. And this is the main block of the quilt. So that helped me. But then it was like, I've got to figure out how to put these square in a square on point. And let me show you now. Let me go somewhere else. And I'm going to, let me see if I can bring up, let me see. I hope I can do it. I wanted to, let me see. Preview. I think right now it's bringing up all kinds of images. One block enlarge, one block. Let me see if I can, whoops, maybe not. I want to bring up EQ. Well, let me see if I have, oh, I've packed away everything. I'm not sure how to do this, so give me a second to try this. Preload pictures. Hold on one second. Let me go to EQ8 because I use EQ8 to design everything. I would love to tell you that I am great on EQ8, but I'm not great. I can do what I really want to do if I'm very desperate and willing to work hard. Whoops. Sorry, I did not take my trimmer medicine. Okay, now, okay, let me drop this down. All right, let me bring you back up so I can see you. Okay. Yeah, okay. So let me bring this up. Open an existing project. If you can't see this, let me know. And now I'm going to bring this project up. Okay, now let me show you. You can see, it might be good for you to see the different steps I tried. How do I make this quilt? So there, and I was thinking, okay, but I really like how she has half a block. How do I make that work? And so I kept working with it and kept working with it until now I found this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mary. That is so kind of you. Yeah, she's from Australia and she's lovely. And so, and I didn't see anywhere the instructions for it. She showed us, and I might have missed it. But this, so here it is. It is now designed. And I wish I could make it bigger, but I don't know how to make it bigger. Let me see. Display, it's already on large. All right, I know I can edit it. So let me, there, whoops, there it is. And I don't know what this block is doing down here, so I'll try to move it. Go away, block. I don't know how to get rid of that one. But here is the quilt. And let me tell you how I figured it out. I figured out how to make the one important block that almost all of these are made by. Then I said, okay, well now for this, because this is a half, each edge is a half of a block. Okay. So I said, this took me hours, trust me. I said, okay, I need to make this corner block here. Then, oh, I need to make a half block here. So now let me go to my blocks and show you. Here is, let me now go to the block work table. Okay, so I said, okay, I'm going to use a jelly roll, which is 2.5 inches. So then if you need 5 blocks wide by 5 blocks tall, that needs to be a 10-inch block finished. So this is what I did. Let's see. Oops. Okay, this is the block work table. Open library. I don't think, no, I want the ones I did. Hold on just a second. Let me close this out. Let me go back to quilt work table, and this, now I'll show you. Okay, I'm hoping it's saying set block. See, I told you I can do what I want to do, but to fully understand it, I keep saying one day I'm going to stop and teach myself. So I've got all kinds of things I tried doing. I tried looking at let me see. Let me try one thing. I'm going to do this and see if I can edit block. Yay. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to put it in color so you can see what I did. What I did is had to look to get that half edge all the way around, which to me is very important because it keeps the solid blocks from going all the way to the edge. So what I had to do is make it 10 inches by 5 inches. Yeah, it's a little tricky. I gotta be honest. It's a little tricky. And so what I had to do is do a 5-inch block by 10-inch. Then I took and I drew out these squares on point. And then I filled in with enough color to give you an idea. Now, let me see. Block work table. I'm trying to, let me see. New block. Okay, let me try. Oops, let me go back to this. Okay, so go to blocks. All right, then I had to make that quarter block. So now I've brought it up. Here it is in color. And so this goes in each corner of the quilt. So I had to make 4 of these. And so I did the same thing. And with colors, I'll show you. I'm going to put a better background color in here. You just go to colors and do, I think, let me see, fabric tools. I'll go to the color I want to put in the background, just showing you a few things so that if you think you might one day want to try this, I can at least give you a few ideas of how. So I'm going to take this color right here and then come over and tap it into place. So you tap it in. Now, there is a way that you can do it where you tap all the like spaces at one time. But at one point, I've learned these things in the past, but unless I use it like almost every day, and now, okay, I forget. Now here, I've changed that background, so I'm going to go up here on the side. It shows a sketchbook and it has a plus. So you click on that, and now that picture is in the workbook. But it took me hours to figure this out, because what I finally realized that I had to do was make the center blocks, then go to borders, and I added this with borders and made the border segments, which you go to blocks, and then you tell it how many blocks you want in your border, which is down here. So I counted out the 4 across and said, okay, I want 4 there. Then on this side, I wanted 5 here. So I counted those out, and then that left the little cornerstones. And from that, I then went to setting each block into place. And like, I'll give you an example. When I set this one in place, I'll show you, see how I set that in place? Now it's going the wrong direction, but luckily I can go up here to rotate, and I can spin it around until it's in the right location. Now, unfortunately, I rotated this one, so I'm just going to click that until it's right where it wants to be. So you can go around, and that's just a little 5-minute glimpse of a tutorial. And there's a Carrie Shell, I believe, out there, who is an amazing teacher of EQ8, so I would check into her. But this is how I designed it. Now, once it's designed, then you can go to File, you can go to Print, and you can figure out fabric yardage. And here I'm going to do a preview and just show you. It'll tell you how much fabric you need. Now, it went any color I accidentally clicked on, it's telling me. But it'll tell you the fabric you need. And then when it's done just right, you can decide, okay, I want it to now tell me if I'm going to cut this rotary cutter. You can click on rotary cutter and it'll give you the instructions. Oh, she does. Thank you, Polly. Hi, Polly. Thank you. And Polly, I've cleaned almost half of the room, so I'm getting closer, Miss Polly. So, and as soon as I get this room clean, I'm having Miss Polly over for a sew day. So, okay. So anyway, so this is what I was doing yesterday instead of packing for the trip. So last night, now let me hold on a second. Let me get this back up. Okay. And then now I can come back. So that's what I was doing yesterday. And what I did is I told Mark the other day when I was just kind of emotional about the Irish homestead people. I'm so tickled. They've done all this work themselves. They hired out only when they absolutely had to. And it's been a joy to watch them. So I said, Mark, I'd like to make them a quilt. And he's like, okay, because he knows me. If I feel at all attached to people, I want to make them a quilt. And so I was looking around for different varieties of beautiful greens, not avocado and lime, but beautiful subtle greens. And guess what? I just happened to see on Missouri Star Quilt, they had, what was it called? Lagoon, a roll up of Kona lagoon colored strips, and it was beautiful. They had some gray greens, some blue greens, just Beautiful. And so then I ordered a 108-inch wide backing Kona in snow. So it would be a slight off white with a slight yellowish kind of cast to kind of look like putty. Yeah, I love the color putty, if you've ever known that. Well, guess what arrived yesterday in the mail? I mean, it only took them 4 days, 5 days to get it here at the most. And well, of course, that came in the mail. I'm getting ready to go to a retreat. Guess what? I've got to do the new project. So I had my Italian marble floor quilt stuff packed. Oh, push that aside. I had my daughter's wedding quilt that's 17 years late. Push that aside. Pack up the new fabric. So, in my little pea brain, I had to make a quilt pattern. I had to work it out because when I get there, I can't use a printer and all of that. So, now all of that is packed in the car along with the directions and the pictures I put out. And I did go on YouTube to find a shortcut. One of the changes that I made by using that woman's beautiful square instead of the on point of the big background color square is I can't just sew strips. If you did a traditional Irish chain, you can sew strips and cut them and sew them like normal. With this one, I'm going to have to make strips and cut them and put them on a 45-degree angle. And I'm doing it multicolors. So I have a feeling I'm going to make a bunch of half strips of the cream background and each green that comes in the jelly roll. It's going to be a little more complicated, but it seems my eyes are always drawn to things that later I go, oh, this is not straightforward. Because I saw an Irish chain and thought, how easy. Well, if I did it the normal way, yes. But this woman's, who she said did this, I forgot now, the creator, Amira, hers is so beautiful that once I saw it, that was it. That's kind of how I am. I see something go, boop, that's it. I know what colors, boop, that's it. And usually I don't change. So that's what I did yesterday when I was supposed to be working on the thread painting of our fall landscape. So now the fall landscape, which has not been touched and well over probably a week and a half, is going to go to the retreat with me. I've already packed up. Let me see. I know I have it here. I'm taking my best sewing machine, my Juki, the newer one. So I've got all my decorative threads packed and my tote that carries all of my tools and supplies. And so this now is going to go to retreat. And I promise I'm going to spend at least a couple of hours working on thread painting. And I also took my ink tints with me. So if I take my ink tints, you know I'm going to work on it. Yes, I promise. I promise I will work on that. So I was supposed to have that ready for you today. Now, my sparrow quilt is almost done. I'm going to show you how I work on putting the cherries on because the big one, I brought it out and hung it up. It's so pretty with that border. I can't believe what it added versus a plain border. So I can't wait. But by the time I come back from retreat, I'm going to try to have that fully pieced. And then if I hear that my baby, my long arm was able to be fixed, then I'll quilt it. So Okay. And I told you about my doctor's quilt. And I went ahead and cut out the binding. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And then my Grinch pillow is completely done. So I packed 3 others because when I go to a retreat, I always take several projects. And let me tell you why. I actually know of someone who went to retreat and didn't have one crucial thing for what they were going to work on. And they didn't have a backup. So I take several. The other thought of that is I don't know what I'll feel like working on that particular day. And also, and the other reason is because this week it's going to be in the upper 60s and low 70s. Perfect outdoor weather. And this huge room, looks out over this big deck where you could go out and sit and just absorb sunshine, which I need right here before winter. So I take a chair that we call the camping reclining chair because it has a foot thing that pulls up and then the back of it can go back. So I do a mixture of hand projects and machine projects because I get tired of sitting in that chair at the machine for so many hours. So during the afternoon, I'll go out for a couple of hours, sit in that recliner, and take handwork to do. So I brought a crochet project. You might want, sometimes I'm only in the mood for something mindless. That's crochet. Then I brought the Santa Fe Snail's Trail al fresco. Pardon me. I brought our summer project that's got the binding already pinned and already started, and I can finish that binding. Then that project gets crossed off the list. And then I am bringing this last border of this. So when I'm sitting and relaxing and putting my feet up, which is a good thing because they tend to swell if you sit too long in one place. So I'll have that to do. And then the doctor's quilt, the part of the quilt that's done, I'm thinking I can trim up and start putting the binding around that part. So, because it's going to be tricky to try to put it back on a frame. And I'm not one of these people that use the zipper thing. Sitting in the sun, oh, I always do take a nap. So then what I do when I feel myself getting sleepy, I take my cell phone and I put an alarm so I won't miss dinner, and I stick it right there so I can hear it, and then I fall asleep. And I'm even taking a light little blanket to cover with. I wish I could take you all with me because it is a joy and it's very inexpensive. They charge you for the meals only, which brunch is 13, dinner's 15, and I get my own room. Now the rooms are not fancy. This is a Salvation Army camp, and they do summer camp for deserving kids. So there's no TV in the room. You take your own alarm clock. It's just beds. It's singles and bunk beds, but it's clean, nice. You have your own bathroom, your own bedroom, so it's $74 for that. Now, it's probably in another year, some of the prices are going to have to go up. But it's just really nice. And you sit in this huge big room. You sew down this end. When it's mealtime, you get up and walk down that end, sit at one of their dining tables. You eat. You get your stand in line and get your meal there. Then when you're done eating, you take and scrape off your plate and put it over by the sink area. And then you go back and you sit down and you sew. That's all I need for a happy life. Let me tell you, I don't have to cook and I don't have to clean. It's like I only have to worry about myself. If I could pack you all the way and take you with me, I would. I tell you, I would. So it's an inexpensive, when you add it up, when you think about retreats, it's very inexpensive. Now it ends Saturday morning, but I don't like to get up early in the morning, so I'm going to come home Friday night. I don't mind driving home in the dark. That's not a problem. And for me, it's about an hour away. So anyway, so that's kind of where I'm planning to do. I already packed away the collage pumpkin. I forgot I was going to show you that again. I'm going to tell you now, if you didn't see last week's show, doing a pumpkin or any scene on a canvas where you take fabric, you put fusible, and I like using steam-a-scene for that, steam-a-scene, because I can't sew over it. Once it's on the canvas, you may be able, I'm not even going to go there. And I've got tacky glue if the fusible fails. But you just take this canvas and you take these pieces and you cut them out and you iron them onto the canvas. That was so much fun. I'm going to make one for Christmas. I'm going to make one for Easter. I mean, can you imagine you could make a 4th of July? You could make a nice wavy flag on a canvas. And then all you need to use it to decorate is a little pin or nail in the wall and just hang it up. There you go. So I love that. But I've got all these things that we've worked on this year since just over summer and stuff. I've got all these things to take and do for show and tell. Speaking of show and tell, I will take pictures of show and tell. So don't worry. All right. Now, all right, so what I'm going to show you is how to do, I do three-dimensional applique, not fully three-dimensional, let's just say puffy applique on the border. Then I'm going to show you what I made for the retreat leaders. And then I'm going to show you, just give you a brief overview again of how to make a border and why I make mine the way I do. Okay, so I'm going to start first. Let me go over to the close-up camera and I'm going to show you the gifts I made for people. You tried that heat and bond and it was hard to take off and had no sticky stuff. Is their trick to using it. The heat and bond. If you want, when you say it's hard to take off, is that pulling it off where you ironed it onto? Anytime you use a fusible, if you want to pull it off because you want to change something, just quickly do a light heat and then rip that piece off, because it comes off easier when it's warm. Now, it had no sticky stuff. Okay, the heat and bond is you iron it to the back of the fabric that you want to use. Then, when you get ready to use it, you peel off the paper and then iron it down. It's not like Steam-a-Scene 2, where you can stick it down before you iron it. It's kind of sticky, so you can try put it there. No, I don't like it. Peel it, put it there, but once you iron it, then it's where it is. So if the paper is hard to get off, then just take yourself a nice straight pin. Boy, I packed everything. Take a nice straight pin. Here's one. Take a nice straight pin, score the paper on the back of it, which will then allow you to tear it off. But if instead, I'm going to say this again, instead, if you're trying to get a piece of fusible fabric that you put down and you don't like it there and you want to take it off, then heat that area with an iron, then grab the fabric and pull it real fast. So, because heating it back up is the way to try to, otherwise, oh my gosh, it'll rip the fabric, it'll be a mess. The heating it did not work. The other thing you could do, now normally I don't recommend this, but the other thing you could do is iron the heck out of that little piece you want to remove so that all of the fusible will transfer into the bottom fabric. Then you can take it off. So normally I don't recommend this because I don't want you to get into a habit of over ironing fusibles. And when you put fusible on fabric, you want to heat it just enough for that glue to stick the two fabrics together. If you overheat, let's say this is the side you're ironing on, this side. If you overheat, the glue will soften and go all in to the bottom one. Have you ever tried to put a piece of fusible on something and all of a sudden it won't stick anymore? That's why. It was either too hot of heat or too long you held it on. So you want to press fusibles on just enough to get it fully melted enough, but still staying equally between the two fabrics. So, well, if you heated it too long, one piece, either the bottom or the top, should let go. And usually what happens if you heat it too long, all the glue goes from the piece of fabric you're putting on the background. Usually, if you heat it too long, it all goes into the background. But and if worse comes to worse, just put another piece over top of it. You know, I'm really good at making stuff work. I don't stand on principle. I'm not prissy. I just make it work. All right, so let me now show you. Um, these containers I made that I will never make again. All right, here we go. All right, here are these. Let me bring the light around. All right, here are these. I bought this pattern and I made it and I followed the directions, surprise, surprise, and it's supposed to be rounded. It's supposed to be rounded like this. But when I made it the way it was supposed to be, I noticed that it made it a little more soft and squidgy, and I didn't like how shallow it was. I told my future son-in-law that it reminded me of a cow poopy. So for whatever reason, this little thing bothered me. But that's how it was supposed to be. But one thing I found is I noticed mine wanted to draw up like this. And when I let them draw up and pressed the seams on the side, because these were all made by hand. It's totally made by hand. So when I pressed the seams like this and around, it made a sturdier container. Okay, it's not so floppy. And then I put a little piece of elastic on there and a big bead, so I can then just put the elastic over the bead to shut the top of it, and there it goes. Now, when they're flatter and like cow patties, then you can when you put things inside, it makes it a little more sturdy. But on this one, I took and did some stitching with cross stitch thread, and then I took it and put beadwork to kind of accent. I fussy cut these and then put beadwork. So that's this one. Then I showed you this before, and see inside, there's the inside, and all the edges were just whip stitched by hand, kind of like English paper piecing. And then one thing I'm going to do is put a little straight pin in all of these to show them that this is for keeping their pins. They can put their threads. And then here, this one closes. So there's that. And then here is the most recent one that I finished. And tonight, even though I'm leaving for retreat tomorrow morning, tonight I've got the last one in progress upstairs, and they're all different. And what I'll do is take them to the main leader of the group, let her pick first, then kind of based on the level, the amount of work they do, go in that order to let them choose what their favorite. This, I took the DMC floss and I did accent stitching on these flowers to look like the fluffy centers. Then on this top piece, I did French knots as the center of all those flowers. Then here's the homemade bead that I put that closes that. So these, and I just want to go on record, everyone, that I have made my first hexagons, and I did them by hand. All of this is done by hand. And that's probably why I'm never going to make these again. So here they are. And I made them slightly 3 different sizes. Here they are. So there are the 3 gifts. And I hope they just know how much I appreciate the work they put in. Whoops, let me turn this one around. The work they put into making the retreat happen. So there they are. Okay, now, while I'm right here, I'm going to show you, I'll do my demonstrations here. What I'm going to show you with this is how I make my binding. Now, there are all kinds of different methods for binding. I understand it totally. And let me get my iron heated. Okay. All right. Now, what I do is I cut 2.5-inch binding. Now, there are people out there who are very amazing and cut it 2 inches or 2.25. But that's too fussy for me because I have big hands and maybe a little clumsy, and doing 2.25 doesn't leave me enough room for error. 2.5 leaves me plenty. This is 2.5. You fold it in half this way. You stitch it onto the quilt with at least a 3/8 inch seam, because I worry 1/4 might not be enough. Then you have to flip this over the quilt and then stitch it down. So I don't know how people do it with a smaller piece. And maybe they're just a lot more delicate than me. So now I add up how wide is the fabric. I add, usually it's somewhere between 42 and 45. Then I measure each side of my quilt and I add each side up. So that's 4 figures you add up. Then I divide the 4, whatever this is. Sometime to be safe, I'll just say 42. Divide 42 into the 200 and some contiguous inches of the outside of the quilt and make sure I have a little bit left over. And that's how many pieces I know to cut. And I think this was 5 and a little piece more. Now, the best way to have a smooth binding, sometimes it's very tempting to just butt the edges. And to butt the edges, you just do this like this. You stitch down, then you iron it open, then you bend it over like this, and you have a lump there. There is a sizable lump there. So if you have had a good night's sleep and you're feeling relatively intelligent and clear-headed that day, then what you would do is, here is this piece right here. You come and put this piece like this, and I come in just a touch from the edge. I don't like to live dangerously. And I'll even let this one come slightly over the edge like that. And I can eyeball it because I have been quilting about as long as God. And so, but if not, if you don't feel comfortable with that, then get any kind of straight edge like this. Now, this is the part to remember. This is your first part. This is the new part. go to the first piece, and that's the side that you start your curved line. So you come up here to that edge where they meet like this. You do a diagonal right down to the bottom edge. So see this? What I did is this, you could always take and just fold it up like that, and you have a crease. You sew on this line. When you sew on this line, then you can cut the excess off here. Then, whoops, you know what? This has to be right side up. I apologize. Okay, start again, take two. All right, this side showing, put this side here, going a little bit over and a little bit over. Then you come and you lay it. You start drawing at the pretty fabric side, and you do your diagonal line. And after you sew along there, then when you come over and press it, it will be a perfect join. And you cut off your excess here, you'll have a perfect join. You see that? Pretty easy. Then you trim it. So now you have made, you know how to make that angle. And Mr. Domestic has, why won't my drawer close? Come on. Something is stopping my drawer. Oh, I don't have time for this. I gotta ignore that drawer sticking out. Okay. Mr. Domestic has the coolest thing. Let's say you've sewn it all the way around the quilt and you have the edges. He has the coolest way to join this. So check out Mr. Domestic on his binding. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Some people might press these open. I'm not going to worry about it. The only time I would press it open is if I was making something to run elastic through. But with this, you just go along at every junction where you sewed and trimmed. In fact, this one I haven't trimmed yet, so I'll get to show you. So this one was like this. I laid this piece right there. I stitched across here. You come back right here. These are my paper scissors, so they're not as sharp as my cloth ones. And I just trim, leaving about a quarter of an inch, maybe a little less. And then I come and press that. All right, so you do that all the way down your trim. And as always, I have a piece left over so that when I go, if something changes, the wind is just a little odd, whatever, that I will then be able to make it a little longer. Not a problem. I would always, oh, I thought I hadn't trimmed that. Let me see. But I would always, yeah, this one hadn't been trimmed. I would always rather have too much than too little because I can bring too much home and save it in my scrap container. Oh, I didn't cut most of these. So I did this right after my quilt frame stopped and I was in mourning, so that's why. All right, so now what we're going to look at is the next step in this is to fold it in half, wrong sides together, and iron it. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but I'm going to show you a couple of my favorites. Now, what in the world is keeping this drawer? Oh, well. When I'm in a big hurry or in a bad mood, I will just fold it over like this, eyeball it, and go along. And then keep moving it down and doing it again. But if you like nifty little tricks, you can take, and on your ironing surface, you can put a pin down like, whoops, let me try to get put my glasses on, Deb. All right. You can take a pin and go. And what I'm doing with this pin is I've nipped a little of the ironing board cover. Then I'm coming across like this. And then I'm going to push it so it goes back under the ironing board cover. And sometimes if you're worried that's going to put too much stress, then just do it going back the other direction. Okay? And trying to leave this amount, that little over the width you want the final to be. Now the tricky part, and I probably should have put this underneath first, but that takes more thinking than I really have right now. Let me see if I can shove this under. Nah, I think I'll just pop these. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put this over. And if I had longer pins, they wouldn't be so tight, so I would be able to slide it under. But here we go. So, come on. Okay. So I have to bring this over the fabric and now back under the ironing board fabric. And the same with this one, and bring it back under the ironing board fabric. There we go. Whoops, knock this one out. Okay, just put it right. Go just a little hair past the binding and then push it under. All right, now I've got it. So this is what you do, okay? You pull it through, and once you start it, it's usually pretty easy to keep it going like that. And I should have actually done it the other way. I'm left-handed, but you just keep running it through. I think I'll just stick with, I like showing you different ways to do things, but sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth. But anyway, but maybe just leave the iron down. That'll leave you room to pull it through and move the iron forward. So this is one of the ways. Now there are tape makers and stuff, but for binding, I don't think it's worth all that kind of work. But if I were going the right direction, this would be a lot easier for me because being left-handed, I'm not able to use the hand that I'm so dominant with. So anyway, that's one of the ways. But then, being who I am, I go back to doing it my own way. And this feels more comfortable to me. But, you know, there's lots of tricks and things out there, but sometimes the good old-fashioned way, whatever has worked for you. Mark told me one time the cutest anecdote that how NASA was, you know, going to go in space, they invented a gravity pen because a regular ballpoint pen will not work in space. And or any kind of ink pen, the ink pens they had before. So they had to build this pen that had its own pressure regulated, whatever. So they spent a whole lot of money to try to figure out how to make a pen that would write in space. And the Russians said, we have something that writes in space too. It's called a pencil. And sometimes that is just a cute little example of, you know, it's fun to make a new tool, but sometimes it's more cumbersome. So I just go along trying to make these edges meet as evenly as I can. And then I'm going to show you what I do with it. Because I've seen all kinds of, you can buy these wooden pieces that hold all of your binding. And you can buy or use paper towel rolls cut in pieces to roll them on. Many great ways. And I've often thought it would be nice to have, it takes me a while sometimes to finish some of my quilts. It'd be nice to like have a ribbon holder on the wall to hold all the pre-made binding. But I'm almost finished with this. And so then I'll be able to show you what I do next stage. But I am taking the doctor's quilt with me. I'm taking a bunch of easy to use safety pins for basting. I'm taking the threads. I'm not promising, but I may try to use my domestic and quilt it. I'm a little afraid of it, but I'm normally no good at domestic quilting, but I haven't tried it in about 6 or 7 years, and maybe I can do it better, especially because that machine has has like a 14-inch throat. So that gives me more room to work. So, but getting it pin basted just right. Okay, so get that last little bit just right. All right, so now this is ironed. This is what I do to store my binding. I just take it and wrap it around my hand like this. And I kind of keep my fingers open so I don't tighten it too much on myself. And I just wind it. And it does want to get twisted on you. When I'm sewing this, so I wind it all up like this. Then when I'm sewing it on my quilt, I open it up a couple feet, a couple feet loose. And then I take the rest of this and throw it over my shoulder and let it fall down to the floor. And I find that by doing that, I'm not having to constantly unwind it and let gravity help me. So, and it's loose enough, it doesn't bind up. And then just go around and sew. I used to try to put the binding on the quilt frame, but honestly, that even got too hard. So now, okay, I've wound it all up. Then I'm going to take one of those pins again, and I'm just going to put the pin in it, tucking the end of the pin in it like that. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put this extra piece in case when I'm putting it on, I need a little bit more. And there's my binding. So I know y'all probably know all about binding. Just thought I would do a little bit of a refresher. So now that's ready to go. All right. And just one more quick thing. I think I have shown y'all how I do these cherries, but I thought, let me try one more time because I'm not sure I showed you how I stuff them. So what I first did is I used paper. I just drew on a plain piece of paper some cherry shapes, and then I glued it onto this fabric, okay? And then I took and glued the paper onto the actual border fabric. Okay, so I've got all these laid out. It just makes it so much easier. I don't have to go looking for them. And you can see, whoops, don't drop my skewer. I love bamboo skewers. I love them, love them. Okay, so these are already sewn down. They're just waiting for me to take my floss, which should be in here. I try to keep all my sewing supplies together. Oh, no, it's back upstairs with something else. Never mind. But I will use DMC floss and do little stems to the cherries. But let me show you, because I love the three-dimensional look of these. And then the hand embroidered stems, just give it a nice touch. Now, if I had more time, I would do a vein down each leaf by hand embroidery. But that's kind of hard. That's a lot of stuff. At some point, I've got to say, enough. So I'm going to come in over on this side. I'm going to come up from behind. I've got my thread knotted. Come up behind and just grab. Let me come on down a little. Okay. Just going to grab the little tiny edge because I don't want to get too much of that paper. So see how I grab the little edge and then I pull it up and then I go down under the fabric right where I came up. I go back down. I come up and just nip that edge again. And I use the thread of the item the color of the item I'm appliquing. Now, let's say I didn't have, this is silk thread too, because it really disappears nicely. But let's say I didn't have red silk thread. I would use a dark gray. Gray is my favorite because it has the ability to blend so well. It doesn't stand out and say, look at me. So now I just come along and nip under that. Okay. So I go around, let me quickly stitch around, and I'll leave a little bit of space open because I need to take out the paper backing. Okay. I don't leave the paper in there. For one thing, paper over time will turn acidic and it will mark or damage the fabric. And also, I want this to be soft and fluffy, so I've got to get that paper out. So I'm going around just grabbing little nips. Usually, I've been real tickled because some things I'm honest with things that I don't do well with y'all, but there are some things I do well, and that would be hand applique, hand stitching. Okay, so I still have a little, let me put a couple more stitches in. If you wait too long, it's too hard to get the paper out. If you go too soon, then you have too many soft edges to try to then, because I'll show you, once I take the paper off, the edges get loose. Because I'm going to go ahead and take the paper off. So I just take my fingernail and I peel back the fabric because it's a little glued on there. Now, another thing you can do instead of just regular paper and gluing it to the fabric is you can use freezer paper as your pattern. And then that way you just iron it lightly. So now I just take and gently pull. Sometimes a piece of the paper will stick. So I'll take this skewer and go under the paper and just kind of work it loose from the background fabric. Just pull it a little loose. Now, if you forgot to take your paper out when you're appliquing and you've already sewn it totally on, you can come underneath and make a careful little slit here. Pull the paper out, and then I take and whip stitch it back together. Some people say it doesn't matter, it'll be inside the quilt, but I don't like taking chances. So now I've pulled the paper out, so you just come back and kind of just press the edges under again, okay? Now I'm going to sew a few more stitches and leave even less of an opening for the next step. So pull this, okay. All right, just keep stitching around and around. Okay. Let's see. All right. There we go. All right. Oh, now I think I can sew just a little bit more. All right. So now I'm going to anchor my needle so I don't lose it. Then I'm going to take a little piece of polyester scrap batting, and I don't need much. You'd be surprised. And I'm going to take this batting and I'm going to stick it inside that through that little opening that's left. Stick it inside. Now, I don't want to overstuff it because then it'll distort that part of the border, but just enough to give a plumpness to it. Then I go on around and finish this. I only have a couple more stitches and I will be done. All right, get this here. And sometimes if it's a little bit bulky, like I moved it a little far away from the edge, I'll use my needle, go in, rearrange it so it's nice and smooth. And here we go. All right. So I come around and stitch on the very first stitch. So I'm completely sure I've done the entire way around. So then I'll just turn it over, bring the needle out, and I try to put about 3 knots because I don't want it to pull out at some point. The one problem of doing applique is when it comes time to quilt it, you don't want whoever quilts it to bump that sewn edge of the applique and knock loose that thread because they can easily break a thread. So there we are. And now I'll bring this to the next place I'm going to sew. And I will take and I just go in and out, in and out, in and out 3 times, and the needle will stay there for me. So, okay. And I just love the little 3-dimensional. It's just my way. You know, if I had had all the time in the world, I probably would have put a little bit of cotton batting under here. And then when I did some hand applique stitches, it would give a little life to these leaves. But then I might be working on this quilt till the end of my life and beyond. And that's, you know, it's real hard to sew from the great beyond. So just adds that extra measure of difficulty. But anyway, so there is how I do this, and it looks really pretty with the sparrow quilt. Really pretty. Okay. Oh, another thing I do, I've left this kind of neutral. I haven't put applique, right, leaves and berries right up to the edge. And I have this left. Then I have this end and I have extra left. And that's because I don't know where and how this will meet in the corners. And I want to be able to take it up on one of the sides and have a nice transition. So I make sure to leave plenty and then I sew it together with a machine, replace these by hand. I can come back in and put a few more berries or another leaf, not a problem. So that's my method of putting applique on the borders. All right. Well, I hope that didn't make you nauseous. So now we just have our show and tell left. I hope I put everything on show and tell. I tell you, getting old is not easy. It's very tricky and you get tired easily. That frustrates me to no end. So, okay. All right, let me move the light out of the way. But any questions from that? Oh, thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Yes, right sides together. I'm such a silly girl. It's funny. What was I doing? Oh, to put the doctor's quilt on the frame. Remember the last one before? I redid it 3 times and still got it wrong. So this time I had a little more sleep that day and I was able to no, I did start to put it on wrong and had to take out a few. Yeah, just a little bit. So, sometimes it's like the older I get, which way to have this facing, which way to flip it and have it be right, it gets me confused. So now what I'm going to do, let me grab our show and tell, and I hope, do you see that sun coming in? All right, so let me go to that, and I'm going to have to adjust those blinds just a little. Ah, come on, come on, come on. Oh, I see. I have a little sun catcher in the window, and it caught the edge of the blind, and it was making me blind. So here we go to show and tell. All right, Miss Alberta did that beautiful yellow and blue. I love this. Whoops. Let me get this over here. Come on. Okay. Miss Alberta. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Love it. She's down in Alabama, and I believe she's at least 80 years old, and I admire her. She's a hard worker. Okay, who is next? Let me see. I haven't heard from Miss Betty Meisner. I need to check in with her. Now, Miss Bonnie has been busy. Look at this wonderful mandala she's working on with hand embroidery stitches. She is a wonderful hand embroiderer. I just love her to bits. She's so talented. All right, then this is some fabric she got for backing for a quilt she was working on. Look at those are fireworks. Here is a quilt project she finished, and I think it's wonderful. I love the shadow effect. Really gives it a three-dimensional effect, doesn't it? And the sun would be coming from over here because the shadow is to the left and down. So the sun would be coming from there. And I just think that's beautiful. So way to go, Miss Bonnie. All right. Oh, that sparrow quilt has been a joy for me. I gave my daughter the first one I made, and next Sunday I will show you the completed sparrow quilt with that applique border. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I put Bonnie's in. Here is, okay, let me go ahead and delete this out of here because we already saw it where it was supposed to be. Every once in a while, when I save something from an email, I kind of put it in the wrong place. This is so fascinating to me. This is a pink denim jacket that Miss Charlene bought from a thrift store for $3. What a deal. And now she had an artist friend draw some, hibiscus, hold on, not hibiscus, hollyhocks. Had an artist friend draw hollyhocks on the shirt, and now she is doing the embroidery. Now, let's say that person might have drawn this on with a ballpoint pen. If they did, try using some alcohol on a Q-tip to lighten that up. And you can probably use that goop remover stuff too. But I think that her embroidery is lovely. And no one, honestly, we're seeing this very up close. I doubt anyone would notice any ink pen around the edges. But look at those. Aren't they beautiful? She's doing an outstanding job. And here is the front of that pink denim jacket. So I hope that she will put it on when she's done, put it on and show us how that looks. But you know what? I'm wanting to do one of those projects too. So way to go, Miss Charlene. Thank you for inspiring us. I love to be inspired by your work. Okay, Debbie, I can't wait till Christmas comes. Now here is Miss Debbie's sewing loft. Beautiful, just beautiful. And then I love it. She has made her own art gallery in her stairwell. And every holiday she decorates this art gallery. Let me bring it over. Isn't that great? To me, that says happy. That says this is a happy home. And I love it. Okay, and then here is a great Halloween quilt she made. You found a pretty sparrow quilt where the sparrows are multicolored. I'm saving that on my bucket list as well. Ah, yes. Oh, that you'll love that. Yes. Okay. That sparrow quilt has just been a doll baby for me. I can't wait to show it to you. Let me see. Miss Hopi, has been real busy. So let me see. Me at the craft store. Should I buy this fabric? Head, no. Wallet, no. Craft room, please, no. Husband, crap, no. Me, I'll take 3 yards. I love that. Love it. Okay. And here's one of her wonderful bags. She had her big sales recently, 2 days at least of sales. And she's so talented. And now she told me what this bird was, and I forgot, but isn't it gorgeous? And this is my favorite one she sent. Wow, this house is amazing. I want to buy it. Where do I send an offer? Ma'am, this is a fabric store. Can you imagine if you could buy a fabric store and the contents and then, move right in? And here is Miss Hopi's table with her bags, and she did diaper changing station bags. I mean, she did so many little bags that fit over your neck so you can keep them safe. Here is a fence painted beautifully up near around the corner from where she lives. And remember, she lives up in Labrador. That's way up there. She thinks, oh, Black Jay, I think you're right about that, Miss Mary. And here's one of her diaper changing bags. And it even comes with, I love her little hope tags. But this diaper changing bag, this diaper changing bag comes with, oh, there's the Labradorian flag. It comes with its own little mat to lay the baby on. So to me, I told her, boy, when I was having kids, I would have loved something like that. We used, what were they called? Those little flannel blankets or something. I don't know what they were called anymore. We use those for everything. Okay, I don't think I have a new one from Miss Joe. Let me see. Miss Linda was up in New York, so I'm not sure if she's back yet. Let me see what Miss Mary, because she's always sending me stuff, so I've always got to check Miss Mary's. Her wonderful Thanksgiving placemats. I love it. And look at this. Isn't that wonderful? A lovely string quilt made with scraps. Isn't that wonderful? Just love it. Okay. Now let's see who is next. And I do apologize. If you've sent me something you haven't seen, I apologize. Let me see. I don't think that there's much I haven't shown you. No, no, we've seen all of this. My grandson was so sad to see marching band in. Oh, these are the shells. Some lovely people um, gave these to Mark because I heard him say he needed to go get some shells off the beach so he could take them to me. Isn't that sweet? Okay. And I love this. It's the side of the hotel with that bright sunset all the way down. That was beautiful. All right. So I think that is it for us today. And I will make sure. Oh, here is just to show you, we've been talking about the sparrow quilt. This is a rough estimate of how I made my sparrow quilt, and I used granite type fabrics, which to me made it really pretty. And then you can see what color I made my cornerstones. So the border has the vine, the leaves, and the red cherries. And it was just trying to bounce that red around the quilt to the outside edge. And I'm trying to remember what color binding I'm putting on this. I don't think it'll be red. I think it's too much red, but maybe a darker blue, something like that. But that's just the drawing, the EQ8 drawing of um, my sparrow quilt. But I love it. Oh, and you notice something down here? See, these two sparrows are facing each other? Well, this is me and my favorite blue color, and this is Mark and one of his favorite colors, red, and we're facing each other. So that's just a little I love you to Mark. All right, so I think, by Jove, I think we have done it. Any questions that you might have? Let me come back to the main camera. Come on. Oops, oops, oops. Wait a minute. I'm having a hard time corralling. Oh, I know why. I turned that off and now I'm trying to get it to come back. Here we go. Now I have it. Main screen. Okay. That's funny. So now I just learned something. Learn something every day. Mark's probably upstairs going, I could have told you. But anyway. Oh, yeah. So, there are quite, in fact, if you go to look on Pinterest, and look up sparrow quilts, you will see some wonderful examples. That was one of my favorite quilt patterns that's been written in the last 5 years. So, yep. So I am off to the retreat. And I'm taking 6 fat quarters because they're going to play a new game this time. Can't wait to see what that is. Thank you. Thank you. And can't wait to see what that is. Now, our Cheryl Hogan just got back from a retreat. In fact, Cheryl, oh darn, I think I missed Cheryl's pictures. I'm going to write a note and remind myself, don't forget, because I do think Cheryl sent me some, and I apologize. Thank you, Miss Mary. I'm going to try to have a nice, relaxed time. So you won't hear from me. I doubt I won't be chatting on anything. And I take my tablet to the sewing room and listen to audiobooks. So I really try to disconnect from the world, which is a good thing because the world is just a little overwhelming for me right now. But I'll think happy thoughts like my daughter, and she's getting married in March. And that's another quilt I need to make too. I can just whip them out just like that, right? I know one thing it won't be. It won't be a double wedding ring. That's too hard. That's what slowed me down on all my kids' wedding quilts. So it's going to be something. very different. All right. Any questions you might have? Any quandaries? Anything like that that I can help you with or answer to? I would love to do it. Y'all are so special. I want to thank our moderators again. And y'all are absolutely wonderful. And everyone spending time here with us today. Thank you so much. And the quilts do keep adding up, don't they? So, and I know that you love looking at the show and tell that we put on at the retreat. I mean, 50 quilts at least, at probably more than that. So I'll make sure to take a picture of everyone, I promise, and then make sure to show them to you next weekend because I get really inspired. I see a pattern, I go, ooh, I have to try that one. And I think I told you that Lisa and I both got the class we want for the Myrtle Beach in January. So when I get back from this and when I get my Christmas gifts made, then I'm going to start cutting out the fabric for my January class. So yes, thank you for Miss Joso's. I don't think we saw Marcia today. I hope our Marcia's okay because she is here. She was here right early on. And so I'll be here next Sunday. That's before Thanksgiving. I'll have a chance to tell you happy Thanksgiving. And Mark and I have decided to play hooky. I told my daughter I'm kind of burning out and I'm just not up to being all sociable. So we had them over for dinner, just her and her fiance. And then Mark and I are going to stay here that whole Thanksgiving weekend. And we're going to make things like cheese and crackers. I do have a big turkey from last year I need to get cooked. But then we're going to make little smokies because I put them in a crock pot with barbecue sauce, and that's my favorite thing. So we're just going to take it easy, aren't we? So I think that is going to be a lot of fun and just relax. It's been a busy summer and a busy fall. And if you can spare a moment, think of my sweet, very old long arm that's now at the sewing machine hospital. And hopefully I'll get it back. So I haven't heard from him yet. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, everybody. Well, you are the best. This week before Thanksgiving, if any of you, those of you who are on the stateside, do Thanksgiving now. Canada did theirs in October. Smart people. A little farther from Christmas, because that's a lot. But do me a favor, do some resting. If you need to prepare for Thanksgiving, write lists and make, grocery shopping list and what you're going to cook list. But try to give yourself some calm time before the craziness sets in, okay? Oh, thank you. And I am crazy about all of you. Thank you for spending this time with me, and do something special just for you this week, okay? Something special just for you. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next Sunday. Oh, yeah. Is that my little Maisie? Grammy's always underneath here. And one of these days, I'll pick him up. He's 30 pounds, so it's hard for me to pick up. But I trimmed him up this week, so now he thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. Well, I love you all. Take good care. Have a